Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Whimsy with a Z. I'm your host, Ben. All right, everybody, we have a special guest today. This is our first special guest on Whimsy with a Z. We were talking with Riri and Dean a couple of weeks ago, all of season 1, and then even into season 2. All of our Whimsy kids are asking questions about colleges, what we're doing to prep for college. And lucky enough, somebody was listening and reached out. And I have Shellee Howard here with us today. Hello, hello.
It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you so much.
I love the idea that our conversations with the Whimsy kids actually got noticed and picked up, and that you're aware of us and that you notice that we're talking a lot about college preparation. And that seems to be something that you're fairly familiar with, yes?
Yes, it happens to be my passion and my career all wrapped up into one.
Very nice. You formed college, what is it, College Ready?
Correct. Yes, college ready.
And what is that?
So, College Ready is a company that was started based on the need of a student just like yours. And what we do is we help students get into college without losing their mind or their money, and helping their parents navigate the process with support, inspiration, so these kids can have impact, which will equal scholarship. So last year, our students received over 10.3 million in scholarship,
Oh, very
and that
nice.
was earned. So not only will we talk about how do we get in, but we're going to talk about how do we pay for it. And
Mhm.
that's what College Ready is really good at.
Fantastic. And how long have you been with College Ready?
I founded College Ready 18 years ago when my
Oh, wow.
firstborn came home from 8th grade, and he said, "Mom, I know exactly what I want to do when I graduate. Will you help me?" And that's how College Ready was started.
Very nice. So the longevity would already suggest that you know what you guys are talking about. You raised the scholarship, you said 10 million this last year alone?
Last year alone, in 18 years, we've raised these kids have earned $80 million in scholarships by working with College Ready.
Oh, that's fantastic. And these are scholarships that they're finding. So you help them a lot because there's a lot of scholarship money left on the table at the end of the year, right?
That is correct. So there's 4 buckets of money. And we want the students to know where all the money is and how to get it. And so we obviously are college admissions strategists. So we help them to get accepted, because if they don't get accepted, who cares about the money? But once they're accepted, we want to make sure that they have a good return on their investment of that education.
Very cool. What kind of background do you have?
So interesting enough, I am a entrepreneur. College Ready was the 7th business that I've started. All of the others I've sold and found the next one more enjoyable than the last. This one has been my longest, and I think this one will stay with me until somebody tells me I can't do it anymore. And so I graduated from college and I had changed my major 5 times. I did it completely wrong, and I did not want that for my children. And so when my firstborn came to me asking for help, and when he told me he wanted to be a brain surgeon and go to an Ivy League school, I panicked. I was like, I don't want to fail him. And so
Right.
I went back to school and got my master's. And then I went back to school and I became a certified independent college strategist. And then I started to get really clear on the FAFSA and the CSS profile. And putting it all together is how students are able to get the large scholarships, to not only get accepted, but to get the financial support.
Great. It's fantastic that you provide your service and this help because the second you said FAFSA, which is the college, what is FAFSA? Let's start with
So,
that.
yeah, so the FAFSA, sorry, that's like the lingo. I apologize. The federal government provides this form called the FAFSA, and the form is connected to your taxes. But here's the thing that most people don't realize is the FAFSA looks at the second semester of your sophomore year and the first semester of your junior year. but you don't complete it until October of your senior year. So it's called a double look back. And it was because too many people were extending their taxes and trying to avoid paying for college. So the government made a move and they decided to do a double look back. The FAFSA is the form that opens up lots of opportunity for money. It's not the only form, it's not the only way, but it is for institutional money. And that's the big money. That's the stuff we want to go after.
It was funny because when you mentioned it, I just remember horror stories of trying to fill out that form 20 years ago. It's not the necessarily the easiest form, but you guys would help with all of those things, filling out the forms and getting all the appropriate paperwork submitted and everything. You would help with all of that?
Yes, and interesting you say that. 87% of families who complete the FAFSA do it wrong.
Oh,
So
yes.
you're not alone in thinking this form is really messed up because others would agree. When I sit down to look at their form, I'm like, why did you answer this? And they said, I don't know. Like, it's really not very friendly. And that's why most people don't get money. They don't complete it correctly. And so, as easy as that seems to me, I've done it personally. I have 4 children, so I've done it for over 9 years. I pretty much have memorized it. So for me, I get it. And then the CSS profile is the whole other side of it, and that's for mainly private schools. And that's a whole nother beast in itself. So my goal is helping families to navigate to find the best fit academic, social, and financial fit. So when they graduate, they have a good return on their investment. The student is successful and not straddled with debt.
Because that form would be probably one of the reasons why I stopped pursuing it. It was like, I want to attempt to go expand my education after high school, but this form is impossible. And then it's discouraging. And it's like, if I want to go to college, if I can't fill out this form, do you hear a lot of people kind of discouraged from pursuing like a college because it can be so difficult to apply for some of these things?
There's a lot of reason why people get frustrated. One, they think they make too much money and they really don't. The FAFSA's just not on your income. It's on where your assets are held. The second piece is who fills out their own taxes anymore? They've made it so complex. Very few people are super excited to sit down and complete their taxes. So here's another government document. Why would we think it'd be any easier? And so helping families navigate that piece gives them that assurity, that peace of mind that at least they've done it properly
Mhm.
and they have a shot at getting money. So a lot of it is, people are frustrated because they don't feel confident in their ability to complete it. And
Mhm.
they just throw up their hands and are like, fine, we'll take the loan. And
Right.
I'm like, don't take the loan. Don't take the loan. So all 4 of my children have graduated completely debt free from college. Even my firstborn who went to Harvard. And so I tell families, it's what you don't know that's costing you, but there's lots of opportunity. My kids are no different than your kids. It's just I took the time to deep dive into that because I didn't want to pay, 65 to $100,000 a year.
Right.
Me, I'd rather put in the time, but not everybody has the time or the desire, and that's why College Ready was started.
Perfect. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much on behalf of all the parents. The idea that we can help get these forms put together correctly. Because it sounds like if you're saying 87% of families are doing it wrong, that means 87% of like allocated funds aren't being distributed correctly, which
Yes,
means
that's
I
the
have an
sad part.
opportunity.
Yeah.
All right. Danielle was going to talk with us today. Unfortunately, she was ill, but she had several questions she wanted to ask you about her preparation. She's 13, so she's finishing up eighth. I don't even know what grade that is anymore, but she's really focused on it. She's real big on the grades. Um, we're just going to go through a list of questions and we'll see what we can do to help everybody kind of prepare. How early should students realize uh, and begin to start prepping for college?
So, depending on the child, it sounds like Danielle is a very wise young lady and very mature for her age. So, first, I want to give her kudos. I do help students as young as middle school, which would be 12 and 13. And so there are some students that just mature a little bit earlier than others. And so it's not a particular age, it's really when your child starts having curiosity. And, we take them to museums, we take them to art galleries, we take them to opportunities for them to get clarity about their future, their opportunities. But yet, many people wait to talk about college not until their junior year in high school.
Yeah.
And that is a train wreck waiting to happen because if you don't plan, you plan to fail. So, to answer her question straight on, the best time to start, if you are listening, would be middle school. The reality is, you may have children in 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th, and we can still help them. But if you're going to ask for the best time, Danielle is spot on. Right now is it.
Perfect. What does that kind of preparation look like? We're not asking her to start filling out forms, writing essays. You mentioned a lot about museums and stuff. Is it just kind of mentally preparing them? What does that look like a 13-year-old preparing for college?
So I recommend starting from a very young age to teach your child to love to read. Very fundamental, I know, but so many children see us on our cell phones 24/7. If you just put your cell phone in a book, your child's going to think you really like to read. And guess what they're going to want to do? They're going to want to really learn to read. That will expand their vocabulary. The next fundamental stage is when a student's in, say, fifth or sixth grade, and they start to really have questions about their future. They start to talk about maybe in school what they want to do when they grow up. This is a beautiful time to explore. Actually, go walk on a college campus right down from wherever you live. And just, you don't have to make an appointment. You just walk on campus and you can start telling your child the opportunities that they will have here. Take them to a football game, a basketball game, a gymnastics meet, whatever. It's exposure, just like you would to any other thing. Then, when they hit middle school, it's time to have the conversation about their gifts and talents. What are their subjects that come easy? What are
Right.
their subjects that don't? We need to play on to their strengths, and we need to really be careful to not expose their weaknesses. So, what we're doing is we're making sure they're taking the right classes in middle school to set them up for high school. That's it. That's the preparation.
Perfect.
But
Okay.
here's the thing, students can start applying for college scholarships in eighth grade. So if your child is not applying to them in eighth grade, every year they're missing out on opportunity.
Okay.
Then the other big piece is community service, leadership, and extracurriculars. Think about it. If they start something now and they just join, by the time they're a senior, they're leading it.
Okay.
They now have all of this experience to talk about in college interviews, college essays. It's really just exposure, curiosity, really leaning into, I'm really good at this, and then allowing them to navigate into that space. That's the important thing. It's not where do you want to go to college and what do you want to study and let's talk about your career. And that comes closer to the sophomore year because that's when they're getting closer to having confirmation. But the quick answer is the sooner you can start having conversations about college and the difference between middle school, high school, and college and the opportunities that they can have, they're going to get really excited about their future. What happens when it becomes their why and not your why? It's no longer difficult to get them to do it.
I like what the word you use, the exposure, the idea of because it's not like real in your face college prep. It's the like you said, the exposure of like you can do more, you can be more. What are you interested in? And like slowly kind of working their way through like adolescence into like that middle school. And then you can really start having those conversations and be like, you like these things. Cause I even talk about with the kids a lot, like what kind of hobbies they have. Like they like to draw. Like, well, what do you want to do with that? And they're like, oh, I don't know. But it's just one of those things. It's like, if I keep exposing you to opportunities in which you might be able to earn scholarships with drawing or things that you're passionate about actually can benefit you long term. So I like the idea of just subtle encouraging of let's what do you want to do and let's keep learning stuff.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I never thought about that approach or like being more, I want to say aggressive, but like thinking that far ahead for them to get them prepared. When administration offices say they want well-rounded students, what does that actually mean in practice?
So, what they're saying is no longer is just a GPA or a GPA and test scores going to get you into the school of your dreams. That's the minimum you will need. Okay. So, back in the day, people would have a high GPA and pretty good test score, and they could pretty much decide where they wanted to go to college. Well, it's become so much more competitive and more expensive that now they're looking for more than that. And what does that look like? They're looking for community service in something the student's passionate. We call it passion with a purpose. And they're looking for extracurriculars that tell the university about the student. Then they're looking for leadership in their community service and their extracurriculars. They're looking for letters of recommendation from those adults who know them well. And then finally, the essay is the icing on the cake. It tells the university, I am more than just a GPA and a test score. I'm the full package.
Can you break down the balance between academic, the extracurricular, the leadership, and character in the competitive applications?
So important. So there's nothing more important than their GPA.
Okay,
Really,
so
truly,
you have to
that's
have the
it.
grades.
You have to have the grades. Why? Because colleges are saying if you're not serious in high school, why would we think you're going to be serious in college? So that's why it's just a foundational indicator of a student's maturity and desire to learn. So that's why it's foundational. Then next would come a test score that matches the GPA. So no longer is it optional, students, because a college can change their mind overnight. And if you were not taking the test and that was your dream school and now it's required, you just shot yourself in the foot. You can't apply to the school without a test and you won't have enough time to take the test. Just take the test. I know it's not fun. I feel your pain, but it will set you up for success to take tests in college. It will set you up for if you want to be a nurse and you have to take the NCLEX or a doctor and take the MCAT or the LSAT. Like there's so many tests that you're going to have to take. You might as well learn how to do it well now. Right. So
Right?
those things are those are the two most important.
Okay.
You cannot focus just on community service and have minimum grades. Okay. That is just means you have a passion for serving others, which is great. Maybe you should be a doctor, a nurse, a social worker, something, in your church. But to get into college, they want to see that you are a serious academic student who wants to learn. You need to take your AP exams. If you take an AP class, you need to take the test. It doesn't matter what grade you're in, you need to take the test. I think I got that point across.
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
After that, this is what colleges want to know, and this is how you have to prioritize. They want to know, who are you? What have you done? And how will you prove it? That's it. So when you think about if you love community service, that needs to be higher on your list because that's important to you. If you're an athlete, that's going to be higher on your list of activities because that's important to you. They just want to know who you are because when they invite you to come and spend 4 years and get the degree and put the diploma on your wall, they want to make sure that everybody sees the kind of students they produce. because you will be marketing for them once you graduate.
I was thinking about that. It's because like the grades, I was like, I don't grade well, but really, there's a return on investment. If a college is going to invest and help you for 4 years to better educate you, they want to know that you can handle taking tests and that you can study and that you can handle the workload. Not just, oh, you're a good person because you like to do all these things to help people. I need to know that you can still take the classes and the courses that you're going to be here at the college, and I'm going to get my money's worth, and that you're not going to fail out of it just because you think you're a good person.
Yes, exactly.
What do we do when there's a conflict between um, I don't I don't test well and I don't grade well. So I have to focus so much on my grades. Maybe I have to do a little extra. I need extra test time, summer school tutoring. So I'm really focusing on my grades and my testing, but I don't have as much time to volunteer or to really present those leadership skills. What do we do when there's a conflict similar to that?
So it's wonderful. I have lots of students just like that. And because I have 4 kids, I have one of them just like that. And I will tell you what you need to do is called time blocking, because you don't think you have enough time. But if you just put your phone away in a cupboard for a day, you will find time like you've never seen it before. And that is a reality. And so, how much are you really studying where you're focused in and it's impactful? The other thing is using the right resources. It depends on how you learn. So, if you're an auditory learner, you need to listen to lectures. You need to listen and absorb. If you like to see it, you need to be focused and not letting social media draw your attention, right? Then, if you are one who needs to write it, you need to have a good technique. They say that pen and paper is much better than typing to anchor it. And so you want to go old school and you want to write it down pen and paper. So it's not about time. I promise you. I've had this conversation hundreds of times. It's really about getting to know yourself and being honest with, are you really focused when you're studying? Or are you kind of studying, but yet kind of distracted, or the TV's on in the background, or there's people running around? Where are you studying? And so a lot of it has to do with how you're studying. So if you ask me, you always have to put your grades first,
Okay.
right? Without grades, you don't get into college. But if you can't do the other stuff, they're going to wonder, what are you doing with all the rest of your time? Because there's truly very few people who study that hard without all the distractions and don't have enough time for community service. Our students do 1 hour a week. I think everybody can pull 1 hour a week out of their week
Yeah.
without it being too painful.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. The distractions are definitely there, but when you're thinking about college, you really do have to prioritize. Do I want to spend the hour today or do I want to be full ride 4 years from now, 6 years from now? So it's kind of, you got to kind of put this into perspective a little bit that you're putting in the work now to make it easier later. We just had a conversation with Mark yesterday, comes out this week. He's got scholarship. Oh, here's an interesting question for Mark. This is for you. He has scholarship opportunities, 75% or full rides to colleges, but it might involve moving to a different city. He might not be comfortable with that, or he's thinking maybe I want to take a gap year first. What would we do with those opportunities if we actually have the money now to take the 4 years? What do we do to help kind of help them make that right choice? That do we take the gap year and risk not getting eligible for that again, or do we just take it for the 4 years since it's free?
So here's a very misunderstood topic is gap year. You can't just take a gap year. It doesn't work like that. You actually have to apply to college, get accepted. Once you're accepted, then you can request a
Mhm.
deferment. And
Okay.
that deferral is completely up to the university if they're going to
Right.
grant it or not.
Okay.
If they do, wonderful. They hold your spot. You don't have to reapply. You take that year, you do whatever you need to do to be able to go to college. Okay. But what if the college doesn't take it? What if they're
Right.
like, no, we want your money this year. We don't want to wait for your money. Or, that's just not part of how we do things. Well, now you get to get really clear. Why are you not ready to
Mhm.
go to college? Is it not ready to leave the house? You love your mom's cooking? Like, what
Right.
is the thing that's causing? Is it just your own anxiety about being worried about making new friends? Like, get really clear. It's not going to be easier in a year from now if you don't take care of the problem of why you're not ready. And I don't problem's not the right word. If you don't take care of that thing that's holding you back,
Right.
it's not going to just miraculously go away in a year. You need to face it and be, what am I not ready for? And ask yourself that bigger question. A lot of students, my firstborn went to Boston from California. That was a huge move. Second went to Alabama. Third went to San Francisco, not big move, but fourth went to AAU in the Czech Republic of Prague
Okay.
at 17 years old. Right? So I asked the question to every teenager, what is holding you back from adulting?
Right. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Because when we're making, if they're going to make a decision on whether or not to accept a full ride somewhere, it does ask that question of like, if you don't take it, you're still an adult when you graduate high school. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? Like,
Hmm?
and then I also threw out the idea of like, because there's always like, well, I'll go to a trade school, I'll learn something, and then I'll go to college eventually. I'm like, if college is going to give you 60,000 a year for 4 years, like why work for 5 or 10 years and then go back and pay 60,000 again? But yeah, there's
Exactly.
that reality of like you're now an adult. You're making adult decisions. You want to go to college. That's an adult thing to do. You need to take responsibility for whatever actions you want to take. You don't have to go, but be sure you know why you don't want to go.
That's it. And once you get to the why, sometimes it's so simple. I remember my firstborn, he didn't want to do his own laundry. He's like, I don't want to leave. That sounds awful, mom. And I'm like, it's gonna be okay, right? You're gonna be okay. And it's just social insecurity. So,
Yeah.
but I will tell you, deferment or gap year, kids make it sound like it's their choice and it's super exciting. And be very careful. If you take one community college class, you ruin your scholarship. Gone,
Okay.
poof, over. So even if you think, oh, I'm just going to stay home and take a few classes at the local community college, you are just kissing that money goodbye. So be very careful to know all of the rules.
What's interesting is what I liked about the deferral idea was, and it makes total sense that if a college is going to invest in you and I need time to take care of something, or I need to whatever my journey needs to be before I go to college, it makes sense that I could talk to a college like an adult and be like, I need 6 months. I got a couple of things I want to do. I got a big trip planned or whatever it is. I can't make it the first semester. Can I come back into that second semester? And it's just the idea of like creating that dialogue and that communication. And then worst case, they say no, but at least that way you're responsible enough to show them I've at least took the steps to loop you in on my life before you guys invest into me. Uh, so I like,
Absolutely.
all right, I did not know you could defer. It's good to know. When you said that community colleges impact your scholarships, what does that mean?
Well, so if a student gets accepted to a 4-year institution and they decide that they're going to go to community college, that scholarship money doesn't stay there. So, in other words, they don't hold your scholarship money. So basically, you are telling them, no, I'm not going to go. I'm going to go to community college. And then you have to reapply as a transfer student. So
Okay.
it's not the same thing. There's no pause, I'll think about it. No, it's you made an adult decision and you're going to live with it. So it's
Okay.
much easier to get accepted straight out of high school and it's much less expensive. to go out of high school unless you're going to go 2 years, get in and out of the community college, and every class will transfer with you. That's where the big disconnect comes. Just because you take a class at a community college does not mean it's going to transfer to the school of your dreams.
Okay. All right. Uh, this is all very fascinating stuff. How should students choose their high school courses to align with their college goals?
So, for a student who wants to go into a profession, doctor, lawyer, CPA, engineer, you have to have a college degree. It's non negotiable. If you want to be an entrepreneur, an influencer, a trade school, something that doesn't need a college degree, it would be nice, but it's not a necessary thing. They're two totally different paths, right? You don't have to take 6 APs if you want to go to a trade school. It's not necessary. You just have to graduate high school with a C average or better. But if you want to go to college and you want to choose where you want to go, the better, the more rigorous academia you have, the more competitive you will be. So if you want to choose the school you want to go to and choose the major and choose the career, you better bring the most competitive application you can bring, period. The less you do, then your chances of getting in are less. It really comes down to, think of it as a job, okay? You own a business, and I come to you and I say, I really want to work for you. I've heard amazing things. Can I work for you? And you say, can I see your resume? And I say, oh, but I've been so busy. I don't have time to build a resume. You say, well, without a resume, I really don't know if you're qualified,
Right.
right? Now, child B says, I really want to work for you. And you say, where's your resume? And they show you 4 pages of their amazingness. I don't even know if that's a word, how amazing they are. And you're blown away. And you're like, I don't think I can afford you, but I'm going to find every penny I can to give to you because you're going to make my life better. Same thing for college. No resume, no money.
Okay.
Same thing.
All right. Extracurricular activities. What makes an extracurricular activity stand out on applications?
Doing something that you love to do, not what your best friend loves to do, not what your mom told you to do, not what dad's favorite sport is. You do you. And don't do what everybody else is doing because then you water down the pool again.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, if you love bowling, heck, go bowl. If you like figure skating, go figure skate. Stop trying to outsmart colleges. That's not what they want. Colleges want to know, who are you? What have you done to prove who you are? That's your extracurriculars. So if you don't like tutoring, stop doing it. If you don't like feeding the homeless, stop doing it. You need to do something, but do what's inside of your heart. Do that thing that gets you excited to wake up on a Saturday morning. That's a good extracurricular.
We're in our second season, our second year with the Whimsy with the Z. And I ask all the kids, and none of them, they all say no. So I'm just, in your professional opinion, would it be good for Danielle to put on any college application or essay, or when people want to know who she is, would it be beneficial that she does a podcast talking about being a kid with other kids?
If she has aspirations to do a type of career that's a connector or an
Okay.
influencer or something where the skills she's learning
Okay.
are transferable and they can see the connection, like going into law. Podcasting is awesome if you want to go into law because you are truly stating your case,
Right.
right?
Okay.
You're talking about opinions. But if you wanted to go into mechanical engineering, there would be like this question mark of, unless you interviewed mechanical engineers or all engineers of every trade,
Right.
that could be a connection. But really, they're going to be asking, help me understand with an essay, why did you do that podcast?
Okay. All right. I like it. So if somebody wanted to get into like veterinary school, so yes, they do the podcast with me, but it could also benefit that maybe they start some kind of animal podcast where they're interviewing other like veterinarians or doctors or animal enthusiasts, wildlife conservation. Like, so they could benefit using the podcast as a platform to build on the things that they're interested in and what they're going to start to pursue.
Yes, and so here's the part that a lot of people miss. If you have a shy child and they just know they're shy and they really want to come out of being shy, a podcast is awesome. They're learning how to communicate. That alone is a great essay, right? So even if they're just doing it to like better themselves as a communicator, that's a good reason. A better reason is they have intellectual curiosity. They love animals. They're thinking about maybe something in the animal sciences. So they reach out to vets, to vet techs, to dog food people, like reptile people, like that they're just curious. Like, I want to know what your job's like. Will you tell me what it's like? Education did you have? How did you get there? What was the path? Was it worth it? Like, do you see how that is an awesome essay because it's based on their intellectual curiosity and they get excited when they interview and say, I talked to this and this and that. It's genuine. It's not checking boxes.
So it's not just because I do a podcast. The essay really needs to explore what the podcast did for you or what, like, how it helped
Why
shape
did
you.
you do it?
Because, right. Because Danielle, like all of them, super shy the first couple of episodes. And it's interesting. And why I love continuing to do this is we do video to talk to each other, but I don't put out the video online. But it's interesting just to watch how their demeanor overall is when those first couple of weeks that we do it versus where we are now. We got lights on, they're up running around and they're so much more animated. So it's interesting to see all that growth, just a handful of conversations every year of just how they're like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I like it. And I like that someone's interested in me. And then they can kind of like let loose a little bit. So if we were to use
That's an
podcasts
essay.
as yeah, okay, so it's how does my extracurricular why am I passionate about it? Not just like you said, I'm not just feeding homeless people. It's why do I want to feed homeless people? I
Yes.
knew friends or I came from or something more than I just needed to look good on my application.
Correct. Colleges are smart. They know exactly why students do things. And if it doesn't make sense, that's not genuine and that's not what they're looking for.
Which leads right into my next question. What essay topics should we avoid? What are
Well,
like
you
the
definitely
real
want to
common
avoid
ones that we
about
need?
committing, wanting, yeah, like mental illness. That's a big one for this generation. They want to talk about anxiety, depression, that type of thing. But remember, if you're a college admissions person reading the essay, are you now worried that they're going to come and commit suicide at your school and now you have Fox News, right? Or whatever news. So they don't necessarily need it all to be sunshine and roses,
Mhm.
but they need it to be something that they're learning about you. Think about this, students. When you are told in history to go home and read a chapter in your history book, and you come back to class and the teacher reads that chapter to you, are you not irritated? Yes, you are. Colleges are not looking for you just to tell them what you put in your application. They want to know who you are. They want to know, why are you special? Like, why should they invite you over somebody else? And that's the important thing that we need them to understand.
Okay. All right. So it's not just, oh, I have anxiety, and I'm shy, and here's a couple of things that I did to not be shy. I found friends. We're looking for something deeper than just I have the same thing everybody else has.
And this generation has a lot of that going on, right? Because they're living with everybody's best day on Instagram or TikTok or whatever they watch. So nobody quite feels better than everybody's best day. And these poor kids are just feeling less than. Well, that's what lots of kids write about. But I think they have a lot more to offer than just that. So, talking about what life is like on a podcast, speaking to an adult who is an expert in their area, wow, that's a cool essay.
Um, okay, I like it. So it's not so much I have, but it's about the journey. It's you keep saying it over and over. It's they wanna know who you are. I wanna
Yes.
know your journey, not just that you have it, how did you overcome it and what and the impacts of those things.
What did
So
you
it's
learn
all
from
about
it?
how you present it a little bit.
A lot is how you present it.
How long does it take how long is a normal typical, college essay? How long is it supposed to be?
So every college has different essays. So, like, the University of California is 650 words,
Okay,
not very long.
I
But
could do
there's
that.
lots of other essays that are gonna be maybe 2,000. So, it really depends on where they're applying. Some state schools, there's no essay. So, for a student who hates writing, apply to state schools. It really comes down to the more competitive schools, they need the extra thing, the longer essay, the more information to make a informed decision why you should come and not somebody else.
You mentioned it earlier about when you're finding extracurricular activities, you gotta find something different than everybody else because everybody is doing the same thing. They're like, "Oh, I think this is awesome." You need to have you could have a similar topic, but you need something that makes you stand out versus everybody else. I'm at
Yeah,
college, I'm reading 100 essays all about how we like to help the homeless and I have anxiety, but I need to see that one extra I need to be that one that stands out from everybody else. And I'm going to talk about my journey and the whys I'm doing it, and not just here's what I do.
I think the easiest way I can relate it for Danielle is think about the people who apply for her podcast. She probably gets tons of emails that say, I would love to be on your podcast. And you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So does everybody else. How does she decide which one she wants to
Okay.
interview? Do
All
you
right.
see what I'm
Okay.
saying? That's
Yes.
exactly what colleges are looking for. It's like, we've had that same topic on here 10 times. We really
Right.
need a different topic. That's what it's they don't have to be unique just to be unique, they just need to be
Right.
themselves.
Right. Why did I pick you versus the other 3 emails of people I don't want to necessarily talk to?
Yes.
All right. All right. So some finances. What do families often misunderstand about merit, aid, and scholarships?
So they number 1 misunderstood is families think they make too much money, but merit aid has nothing to do with what you do or don't make. So they're 2 totally different conversations. And unfortunately, it's very confusing. So there's 4 buckets of money. There's the institutional money, which is the big money, the one that the school gives the student. Then there's the independent money, which is the ones they have to apply for that are outside of the institution. Then there's need based. So a family who makes less than a certain amount and has no assets, that's a need based. And then there's the other one, which is going to be based on who they are and what they've done. There's a scholarship right now for $10,000 if you're a vegan. Has nothing to do with your family's finances or what you did in school. It is $10,000 what you put in your mouth. So it really comes down to students just don't want to do the research. They don't want to write the essays. They don't want to put in the effort. They just say, I'm too busy because they don't understand financial literacy of what $100,000 a year is going to do to their future. So there's a huge misunderstanding, and no high school that I know of is teaching it.
No, they're not. Um, how can students position themselves to earn significance or scholarship money?
It goes back to your why. When you are genuinely yourself, it could be your first generation to go to college. There's huge scholarships for that. You didn't have to do anything. You were just the first one who says, I'm going to college. Like there's really scholarships for everything. To set yourself up well, you need to lead change. So at College Ready, we have a nonprofit that we partner with, and it's called empowereducation.world. And students from all over the world log in. I'm a mentor for it. And it's online on Zoom, 1 hour a week, where they earn an hour of community service for logging into Zoom. This group in 2 years has raised $48,000, built 2 schools in Uganda, an orphanage in Oaxaca, Mexico. They are feeding children. 150 kids get to get educated because these teenagers are making impact. That's 1 hour a week. So try to help me understand who does not have time for this. They just aren't choosing to do it. So for your listeners, I'm going to give you a huge bonus. Go to empowereducation.world. Okay, it's not .com, it's .world. Every middle school and high school student is welcome to join. There is no cost. So there is no reason any of your listeners should not be going to that website right now and asking for a Zoom link. If you don't get a response, you can go to collegereadiplan.info and I will make sure you get a Zoom link.
Perfect. What advice do you give parents who want to support their student without adding more pressure?
Well, it's all in how we speak to the student. So because I have 4 unique individuals, I will tell you, I couldn't talk to my firstborn and my 4th the same way. So you have to be strategic, right? And what that means is 0 judgment. Not, oh, great, you want to be an artist, you're going to starve. Like those kind of comments are not going to be helpful if you want to not add stress. The questions that you want to ask are open-ended. You want to ask, well, tell me, I'm excited. What kind of art? Where would you like to sell your art? What about art makes that one, how will you do that for a career? What are your thoughts? Have you entered into a competition or have you proven that you're that good? These are questions that are not condemning of their choice, but they're curious. They're excited. They're like, yes, let's explore this opportunity. The student will find out soon enough that being an artist is a hard career,
Yeah.
but they'll figure it out. And if they don't, then yes, you have to parent and show them statistically the chances of an artist or a theater person or professional athlete, whatever you want to call it, of providing for their family. And then it's a statistic and it's not a parent who's really shooting down their dream.
What is one thing students can start doing today that will make a real difference in their future applications?
Start doing it now. Doing it, whatever it is missing. So think of your college application as a boat. Okay. You have this boat and it's either built, think of 3 little pigs, right? One's built with bricks, one with straw. But think about this. If you're in this boat and you're paddling, do you have a motor or not? These are all things you want to be thinking about. But what's missing? What are the holes in your boat? If you know you need community service and you don't have any, guess what you need to do? If you know that you need leadership and you don't have any, guess what you need to do? Right? You cannot write that I play on my gaming box 5 hours a day and tell schools you don't have enough time for community service. It does not work like that. So you need to be real with yourself. I tell my students, let's look at a week. 1 week, I want you to write down every time you switch doing something. And I want you to capture how much time you did it. After day 1, they're like, you're right, Shellee, I've got so much time. There's just no doubt. There's so much time that I waste. And that's the reality that they need to come to realize that, you know what? The world needs them. They were
Yes,
put here for a reason, and they need to use that to be an incredible adult. College is a stepping stone, it's not the end game. So they're not doing all of this great stuff to get into college, they're doing it to be a great adult.
it's adult training.
Adult training.
What, okay, for families listening who feel behind, what is your message to them?
This is a great analogy. So you're on an airplane, and the pilot says, "This is a short runway. Hold on tight. It's going to feel a little scary because we don't have much room for takeoff." And it does. I don't care how prepared you are, it just does. So if you're at that point, just know the longer you wait, the more scary it's going to be. If you have a long runway, you're like, gosh, is this thing ever going to take off? We've got so much time. Like, I'm getting bored waiting to go to college. That is a beautiful way of thinking about it. If you have a plan and you have a strategy and you have a long runway, it's so simple. If you procrastinate, or maybe you just haven't thought about it, which happens, it just means that you don't have time to wait. You need to be doing it now. I help students all the way up until their applications need to be into colleges from 7th grade on up through high school seniors. And I promise you, we get them all through it. Some is a little more stressful than others, but it's a choice that they made.
What can we do to help with we get that we got to find, we want to know who the colleges want to know who you are. But there's also, it's very competitive getting into colleges, and we're all fighting for this money. Any advice for anybody who is taking on all this added pressure on themselves to stay competitive, and like they're burning out, but they keep pushing themselves, or they burn out and they don't come back to it? What can we do to help these kids? Because this is a lot of pressure. We're saying before you're an adult, you need to make adult decisions and start thinking like an adult for an adult college. Because I get the reality, like Danielle's 13. Why can't she be 13? Like, why does she have to be competitive right now? So what are some of the things about the competitive aspect of it? What can we do to not discourage or burn anybody out?
So I want the listeners to think about this. It's like anything else you want. Do you want a good batting swing? Do you want a good fastball? Do you want to be able to kick the soccer ball with both feet? You can just go out and play soccer and just play soccer.
Mhm.
But if you really want to be a competitive player, do you not have to take every opportunity to touch that ball, to juggle, to shoot with both feet, to put time on the field? It's really no different.
Okay.
Only thing is, we're asking them to do it academically, which for some students may be harder than others. But for some students, put them on a soccer field and ask them to kick a ball, and it could be really painful. So I tell families this: the student has to understand their why. Why are they working this hard? Is it because their parents are forcing them to, or because they see the benefit of working hard so their future will be better? When you're working hard for yourself and your future, it is what it is. You can decide to tune out at any point. So it's really students getting clear about what they want. I don't know about you, but I told my student, all four of my children, I said, you are only as good as you want to be. So if you don't want this stress, then just know there are other avenues. You don't have to go to an Ivy League. You don't have to go to a UC school. There are 10 colleges that are tuition free, but you've never heard of them. So keep in mind, these kids are hearing and seeing all of the stuff, and then they have FOMO. They don't want to miss out. And then they're putting all this pressure on themselves.
Okay.
Well, if they can just get clear on, no, really, I want to go to that school and I want to get into this and I want to, then it's an I want. And think about if they wanted to save money for a new pair of cleats or a new dress. They can be pretty on fire without freaking out to
Yeah.
go and get that accomplishment. It
Okay.
really comes down to having it inside of them that it's what they want and not worrying about what all of the other noise is.
Okay. All right. Um, no, and I think that makes sense. I like the idea, the soccer player and everything else. My son wrestles, and he wildly dedicated to wrestling. His team. I'm sure he's got enough. Like he can write a really nice essay, but the grades are slipping a little bit. So it needs to be that kind of the aspect of like, why are you willing to put in 40 hours a week of wrestling? But you can't give me the 2 hours a day for
Mhm.
the the learning. I lost the word and I went with learning. The academics is like, so there's that kind of that imbalance. So all that pressure is kind of like that imbalance a little bit of like, oh, you think you have to do all the academics, but you're actually focusing not enough time on it because you're doing, like you said, all the distractions. It's there. That pressure is only because the distractions are eating up a lot of that at time.
Yep. And that's what I'm talking about. They can do it for one thing, but they can't do it for another. It's all about their why. And, it's choices we make. And as adults, the choices we make, we pay the price.
Right.
It's a similar situation. They're just learning that their choices have consequences. That's not a bad thing to learn.
No, fantastic. I appreciate your like legit. This is like one of the coolest conversations I've had in a long time. It's a topic I knew nothing about, and I feel significantly better having conversations with the Z kids, with my son. I love the idea. Not necessarily get my daughter's 5, like not getting her started, but watching her and encouraging her to continue to be as creative and open and as kiddish as she is. So fantastic. I can't thank you enough for today. Where can we find you? Website, socials, and then what does your program actually do? Let's start there. I need help with college. I go on to College Ready. What is it that you will actually help me do?
So, what we help students and families do is to put together a standout strategy, a plan, if you will, on how to put together an academic, right, 4-year plan. How many AP, how many IB, how many dual enrollment, honors, CP, the academics, a testing strategy, which test, SAT, ACT, PSAT, APs, and put together a strategy for that. Help them to create a passion with a purpose project that they can lead others to create change. Curricular strategy on the UC application, there's a spot for 20 activities, honors, and awards. And on the Common App, there's 10. So we want them to know that one thing is definitely not going to help them stand out. So we help them to know what is better and what is best. And then the extracurriculars, the letters of recommendation, who to ask, when to ask, how to ask, and then what to write essays about, what's going to help them to truly stand out. Then we help their family to pick the right college list. Where will they apply? What major will they apply with? How will they know if it's a good fit academically, socially, financially, athletically before they ever apply? Because if a school is a stingy school and your family can only afford X, I would hate for them to apply, get in, and then you have to tell them, I'm so sorry, we can't afford it. I want them to know before they apply and
Right.
save them the application fee and all the heartache. Then we help them family do getting off the wait list, financial negotiations, reconsiderations. We help them understand the SAI, the FAFSA, the CSS profile. So it's basically from A to Z, all things college planning, different ways to do it. We have from hourly, I just have a few questions, to can you please help my child? I don't want to do any of this. So
That's me.
everything in between we can help with, and I have all of those. We help families that are need-based, we have middle-class families, and we help multimillionaires. It doesn't really matter what your financial situation is, as long as you have a student who is willing to do what is needed to go to college. So we only take 20 students per grade. And that means that we do interview students to make sure they have desire. We're not looking to push a student to do something they don't want to do. So, College Ready, I've written 2 books: How to Send Your Student to College Without Losing Your Mind or Your Money, and then College Admissions Simplified. Both books are on sale for your listeners for 99 cents until after the podcast airs. And so that's a wonderful gift. And then if they're just curious, have them go to our website, collegereadyplan.info. And we're happy to support them with free resources, whatever we can give them to make this journey a little bit easier.
Perfect. I think what I got out of this the most is with the misconceptions of how things actually work or applications or how frustrating things is. A few questions just significantly easier. Like I feel way more confident today helping someone and get to start planning for college than before we started. So I like the idea that just reach out. It has to start with that conversation of
Yes.
I think I need help or I don't understand most of this stuff. And to be fair, I don't think as a parent, that's why you're here. Like so we have all these people like you and these resources is I don't know if I shouldn't have to know exactly how to fill out all of these forms. I need to help the kid find out who they are to help show the colleges who they are. And I'm
Sure.
gonna need you to help me fill out the form.
Absolutely. Some people need me to help their child figure out who they are. So it all depends on what you need.
I appreciate you so much. Uh, before we recorded, I mentioned like maybe come back next year. Sa- I think you have to be a staple of every season that we do this. Danielle was going to talk with you. I think next year we have 1 or 2 kids come on and have a very similar conversation. 'Cause I think again, Danielle gave me a lot of these, but I'd love to see how the kids interact with you.
I would love that. They're my favorite people.
Oh, definitely. I thank you so much for coming in. I look forward to speaking with you again and doing some follow up stuff with you.
Okay.
Everybody, College Ready, fantastic. I hope you guys enjoyed it, learned a lot. Reach out to her, comments, feedback, anything that you guys took away from this. I would love to hear what you guys learned from today. You guys have a great weekend and whimsy.